What's up, everyone? So this is a new little series I'm doing. I'm not sure how long it'll be, but it's going to be probably the next couple of videos at least, and it's my War Thunder Simulator Battles tutorials. The last one I uploaded was just some general tips for going into your first simulator battle, and that was more about air simulator battles. This video is going to be more about tank simulator battles, and I'll just jump right into it. I'm going to start with some tips for when you're playing solo, and then towards the end I'll kind of give some tips when you're playing with a squad, you know, guys in the Discord with you, or even voice comms in game. So jumping right into it, call out targets on the map. If you don't know how to do this, you can just press Alt, move your mouse cursor down to the little mini map at the bottom, and click where you see a target. It is a great aid to your team, because a lot of the guys in Sim pay attention to their maps, pay attention to callouts, and so when you call out an enemy tank, it's going to help your team greatly. So I would say don't call out any planes with this, because they're just going to be gone. I mean, it's going to be useless because they're going to fly right past wherever you called out, and it's going to confuse your team. And then if you're in a plane, and this is personal preference, if you feel like you can accurately call out on the map, go ahead. But most of the time, the maps are going to be different, and it's going to be hard to get a really precise call out. So I would actually avoid calling out any tanks you see in a plane via the call out system of the map, and rather just strafe at them to try to let your team know that way. Then, again, kind of playing on the same point, listen to your team's callouts. And this is going to apply to both while you're in a plane and in a tank. In a tank, it's pretty easy. You can just glance down at the mini-map, see where the target was called out. But in a plane, it's a little bit more difficult. You'll have to manually pull the map up and check. However, when you do that, you'll be able to just know when an enemy tank is. And that little bit of info, if you have good map knowledge and you have a decent eye, you should be able to spot that tank and do your team a great favor by helping out. And actually, I have a clip that I should be playing in the background right now, and in this, our teammate called out this tank. He called them out once, giving me the general location. I knew he was in the town. And then called them out a second time, and so I'm circling looking for this target because they're calling it out. That means they must need help with it. And finally, I spot him. I line up the correct pass, and I take my bomb strike, kill him. Teammate's thankful, and that actually, I believe, saved that teammate, who went on to stop them from capping the point and winning the game. So that little interaction, I mean, if you're just listening to callouts while you're in a plane and you do a bomb drop on somebody who's been called out versus a bomb drop on someone you just spot randomly, you have the you have the ability to turn the tide of the battle right then and there. And then the next point that I'll bring up is use T41. I don't remember who shared this with me, but it was somebody I played with in my Discord server, and they were saying whenever anybody on your team T41s, right, then that's, follow me, on me, etc. That command, whenever anybody uses that, you should T41 as well. And the reason is that this command in simulator battles should stand for a kind of like map check, like, share your position. And so when you see that called out by your teammates, call it out for yourself, T41. That way, ideally on the perfect team, somebody T41s and the entire team T41s, so that everybody, during that split second has an idea of where their team members are. And again, I wouldn't T41 as a plane, that's confusing, but T41 for sure as a tank. And if you see someone, call it out. If you're a tank and you haven't, you have no clue where your teammates are, call it out, and hopefully a few of your friends will respond in kind. And then definitely, I would say it's a must-do to regularly hit that T41 command if you're in a captured tank or something like a Crime Panther. So definitely, T41 is important. Do it all the time. Then the next thing is, if you're playing by yourself in simulator battles, find another tank and make him your buddy. Like that's your war buddy, that's your battle buddy, and you're not going to lose sight. Don't lose sight of your battle buddy, right? And trust your battle buddy to look. So let's say you and your battle buddy, and I actually have footage of this, but it's kind of boring, so I won't show it, but I was following a Churchill in my M4A1 FL10, and I just decided this guy's my battle buddy, and I'm going to stick with this guy the entire match, and I'm going to move with him, staying a little bit behind, and just give him some fire support. And so when he would look to the left, I would look to the right, and that's, you have to trust them. You have to trust that they're going to cover an angle for you. Trust that they're trying to do the right thing, and just always find a battle buddy. Traveling alone in simulator battles is never a good idea. And even if you're not communicating in voice with the guy, you can use callouts on the map, you can use T42, you can use, you know, the easy little built-in chats to you know, have some teamwork with him. And I actually do have a clip here of me with this random SU-152, and he calls out a, I believe it's a Panther, and I take the Panther out. Then and he wouldn't have been able to do it because he wouldn't have been able to rotate over there in time. But luckily, you know, because we were there working together, I was able to take him out for him. And so definitely find a battle buddy, stick with him, listen to his callouts, and actually in listening to his callouts, check with tab. You know, when somebody calls something out, check with tab to see what tank they're in. Because if you know what tank they're in and you know they're next to you, then that means you know what that player's name is. Because we don't get we don't get like a display on top of them that shows, oh, this is, you know, Philip. So definitely check tab and check to make sure that the call out being given is this tank that's next to you. And then the next few tips are going to be more about when you're in a squad, you're in voice comms together, and so these tips are going to apply there. But definitely, I mean, but it could apply outside of that as well. So don't think that that this only applies in those situations. So for starters, I would say call out the range of opponents. So if you and a buddy are firing at a target and you're trying to range them out, call out what range you're taking your shots and whether they were far or short. You know, give it a rough estimation, and that way both of you can work together to nail the range on this guy, and possibly you have to take less shots, because if you take a shot at 1400 and you're like, oh, that was high, he takes a shot at 1200 and that's, you know, dead on, that means that your next follow-up shot, if you didn't kill him, will be dead on as well. Versus if you're both taking shots independently, not communicating about, you know, where you're ranging your shot, you both are going to take more shots to actually zero him in and take him out. The next thing is to call out your opponent's bearing. So you may not even have noticed this, but when you're in your scope, I believe it's only the scope and not binoculars, but it could be binoculars too. But when you're in your scope, there is bearings right at the top. And so as you turn, you can see the different bearings. And when you're in a squad, so this only applies when you're in a squad and you're somewhat close together, because as you get further away, your bearings are going to change from them. But if you're in a squad and you two are working close together, which you should be, then call out the bearing of the opponent. So often when I'm in a battle with, you know, one of the guys from the Discord server and I spot a tank, I'll say, there's a tank far bearing 273, you know, and that will give them the general idea of where to look. And it just helps point everybody in the right direction, helps to acquire targets faster, and will generally make you a more effective squad. On top of that, I would call out landmarks in addition to kind of approximate ranges. So like, you know, going back to that last example, target far, bearing 273, you might say he's near the windmill, right? Or he's on the second ridge by, you know, a cluster of trees, something like that, because those visual landmarks will help to orient their eye and get them on target faster. And it's all about you guys working and communicating. Really, all that good teamwork is communication. And Sim, I would actually say that teamwork, effective teamwork, is probably I don't want to say it's the top skill, but maybe the second best skill to have for simulator battles. If you can work effectively with your teammates, you're going to be on track to win most of your matches. And if you don't work well with your teammates, if you go off and do your own thing and you just play solo, then you're not going to be winning most of your matches. It's probably the second most important thing in simulator battles. And the first, I would say, is situational awareness. But they're pretty close together in terms of, you know, you need both of them to succeed, and without one or the other, you're definitely not going to get anywhere. Next few tips, give status reports for your vehicle. If you've taken a hit and your vehicle's damaged, let your teammates know that. And this, I believe there's also commands that you can send to your teams, not just in a squad, but let people know, hey, I've got a repair, I've got a 30, I've got a 40-second repair, because not only will it help them to not run away from you, because they might, you know, pass thinking that you're good to go, and so they might actually leave you in the dust, but it can also help them to cover you while you're repairing, or help you repair faster. Similarly, you're going to want to give reports for the enemy vehicle. If you've hit the enemy and you've taken something out, let your teammate know, hey, you know, I got a hit and I took out his commander, loader, and gun breech. And that's going to be great for your teammate because it's going to let them have a general idea of where the enemy tank's at, and maybe they were aiming for the commander, they can now aim lower and try to kill the driver and knock out all of the crew there. The next thing I would say, and this is a basic one, I'm sure most of you are doing this, is coordinate for your spawn point. So choose the same spawn point as your teammate, wait for everybody to spawn in and say, oh, what spawn does everyone want to do? Spawn point 1, okay, let's go. And then coordinate where you guys want to play. What objective are you going to play near? What side of the map? Stuff like that. And the last thing is be responsible for different angles. So if you're playing with a squad of 2, right? Cover the right 180 degrees and have them cover the left 180 degrees. If you're in a squad of 3, split that up even more. Have one person cover 120, 120, and 120. And so you just want to, like, if your teammate's looking left, you're going to look right. If your squad mate's looking to the front, look to the, look behind you. You're always going to want to look the other way and trust your squad mate to call out a target and to see a target in front of them. And that way, if you're both looking at the same direction, then it's much easier for you to be flanked. And so it just prevents you guys from being flanked, surprised by enemies, and all that stuff. There's a few clips, but honestly, I have too many clips for this video. But I have a few clips of me and American guy playing, and we were both looking the same direction, and because of that, we ended up getting killed from somebody who came on our left flank or behind us. So definitely cover different viewing angles. And that's it. That covers it up for the teamwork. If you have any tips of your own, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys do to work better with your teammates. And let me know what you thought about the video as well. Cheers, everyone.